pups, RP here. Monsters and villains play a very important role in media, from video games to movies to cartoons, TV shows, etc. These baddies are a lot more than just simple people with evil intentions. They play an important role for any types and forms in the media for the protagonist or protagonists to face off. Whether they just be the monster or the villain itself, evildoers will stop at nothing to win when it comes to a great battle with the hero. For this list, I'll be listing off all the animated villains and monsters from all types of media. Computer animated, anime, cartoons, video games, literally anything and everything that has to do with animation and animation only, or something similar to that. I will include reformed villains prior to their redemption arcs, so you will be seeing the diamonds and other gem villains from Steven Universe on here. No promises though. Keep in mind that these are villains and monsters I believe earned a spot on this list, and will be included on media I grew up with. And these are not based on ranks, and are all based on my personal thoughts and opinions on these particular villains and monsters on this list, by the way. If you don't see a villain or monster you think should have been on this list, please leave a comment in your opinion below. Also, major spoilers ahead for anyone who has yet to watch any of these shows, cartoons, movies, and or animes listed on this video, or have yet to play the games within this video as well. With all that out of the way, let's get started! The Fib, from Larry Boy and the Fib from Outer Space. I think everyone expected to see this guy on this list. He starts out with what appears to be an asteroid or shooting star hurtling towards Bumbleberg. His first appearance was actually kinda cute. Throughout the entire episode, he convinces Gina to lie 3 times in a row. He starts to grow to the point of becoming a scary monster. The part that scared me the most as a kid was when he was about to devour Larry Boy near the climax of the episode. That scared me the most as a young child. But as the years went on, his scare factor had less of an effect on me. He still disturbs me slightly even now as an adult, but he's nothing compared to the cryptic creatures I've heard about, or these villains and monsters on this list, which is the reason why he's so low on this list. Wolfrun or Ulrich, from Smile Pretty Cure or Glitter Force. Okay, just so you know, I've only watched like the Glitter Force English dub of Smile Pretty Cure, and I only know him as Ulrich, so I'm gonna be calling him Ulrich throughout this whole entire segment, so yeah. Just gonna be calling him Ulrich for this one, just so you know. I never grew up around the magical girl anime genre as a kid, and didn't get really into it until I was in high school. I've heard about animes like Sailor Moon and saw ads, trailers, and previews for it. Whenever my folks and I rented those Hello Kitty Paradise videos from a local video rental place, it shut down years ago after Netflix took over. Speaking of which, as I got more into the magical girl animes, I finally had the chance to watch Glitter Force on Netflix and Smile Pretty Cure online. Link to the original Japanese dub of all 48 episodes are in the description if you want to watch them. Now, I know a lot of otakus are gonna hate me for this, but I do prefer English dub over sub, due to the fact that I can't read and watch at the same time like other people. That aside, when I first watched Glitter Force, I thought it was an adorable show. And that's when I saw the character Ulrich. When I first saw him, I immediately fell in love with this boy. Yes, I'm a furry. Shut up. And yes, I know he's a villain, but he's awesome! That aside, he uses shadow power via black ink and a blank page to suck up negative energy to give the world a sad ending, or a bad ending. It is some of his master, Emperor No-Go. The same thing goes for the other characters like Bruja and Brute. And he sometimes uses his wolf-like powers like cuffing and puffing and blowing things away, using super speed to chase people, and of course uses magic to summon clownish monsters known as akambes or buffoons. He's low on this list as well because I see him more as a comedical villain rather than a supervillain or like a big scary monster or something like that. Despite his ability to use magic and certain types of other powers and being a big bad wolf, he also has an adorable mascot pixie true form of himself, and he's adorable. He's a puppy. He's a little puppy. Look at him. So cute! Moving on. Gantu from Lilo and Stitch. Gantu is an interesting one. He's a shark alien who was formerly a cop for an alien organization in the first movie. He was also extremely intimidating as well, but never truly scary. And his intimidation scare factor was toned down, but never really there when Lilo and Stitch the series aired on Disney Channel. Best show ever, by the way. When the big finale aired, Leroy and Stitch, Gantu had to turn around from bad guy to a good guy. Honestly, I don't think it was all that good, but not all that bad either. As a character, he seemed pretty decent as a villain. He turned to be a bit more goofier in my opinion in the cartoon series. Despite that, his voice actor was the everly awesome Kevin Michael Richardson. And that man voice acts villains and other characters wonderfully. I think he nailed Gantu pretty well if you ask me. Plus, he's one of my favorite voice actors. I love that man. The Rumor Weed from Larry Boy and the Rumor Weed. One of my favorite Larry Boy episodes of all time from my childhood. This was kind of like the sequel to Fifth from Outer Space. Not sure what it was with the Rumor Weed, but while she was a bit less scary than the Fib, she does get involved in something similar when it comes to spreading false info and false facts and false truths. Heck, it's in her name! Rumor Weed. The Mother Weed is pretty much the queen of the Rumor Weeds. When Bubblyburg is plagued with weeds, spreading rumors all around the city involving Larry Boy's faithful friend and butler, Alfred, Larry Boy must take action, though he kinda fails. What are you gonna do? Near the climax, Junior and Laura confess they were the ones who started it when they heard Alfred needed to recharge his batteries, quote-unquote, which Asparagus explains to them that Alfred needed to rest. Once they understand, they have to defeat the Mother Weed with the words of kindness, which turns her into a big old flower. Yeah. She just turns into a flower. I think it's pretty cool, actually. Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. An evil genius? Check. Wanting to steal something as special as a Krabby Patty's secret formula? Check. Comes up with crazy schemes to steal it, but ultimately fails no matter what? Check. A college graduate? Okay, not really a necessity for a villain or a monster, but check anyways. This guy kind of reminds me of Dr. Cortex from Crash Bandicoot. Plankton is one of the more comedic, evil genius villains in animation. While he fails with multiple attempts to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula, and wanted to be the most popular restaurant in Bikini Bottom, the Chum Bucket, Plankton never seems to give up or give up so easily. As funny as he is, he's not the brightest genius of all time. Kinda like Wile E. Coyote, especially compared to Patrick. Despite having a college degree, still, he's a pretty hilarious villain. Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls. The Powerpuff Girls had a colorful array of villains and monsters, from spoiled brats like Princess Morbucks to creepy and downright soulless beings like him. But out of all the villains and monsters, I chose Mojo Jojo! This guy was my dad's favorite character in the show of all time. While not entirely evil, he's a comedic villain at best. Very much like Plankton, only with a purpose and a reason for being evil, because apparently he used to be the professor's lab assistant, and when the girls were made, he was the one who pushed Professor into accidentally adding a dose of Chemical X, thus created both Powerpuff Girls and him. Not him, Mojo Jojo him, but no matter how hard he tries, he can't keep the Powerpuff Girls down. The Crazy Vet from Courage the Cowardly Dog. You probably expect me to put other villains or monsters on this list like Cats, Le Quack, that weird teacher leader from the finale Perfect, or even King Ramses with his Return the Slab bitch from the show. But the villain I picked for this one, instead of all the others alongside the monsters Courage normally faces, is the one that started it all, the Vet. In the original finale alongside Perfect, it explains Courage's past. It basically starts out with Courage as a puppy, getting stuck in between a fence, and his parents take him to said vet. Afterwards, when he's saved and freed, he's taken outside of the room so the vet can talk with his parents alone. Courage heads back due to another very messed up injury, only to find everyone gone. Once he hears the cries of his parents, he sees them being taken away by the vet and attempts to save them. These flashbacks, caused by missing dog posters on a milk carton, puts Courage in a catatonic state that not even Eustace could cure with his classic scare gimmicks. Riolu suggests that they take him to the same vet that kidnapped and send his parents off into space, because he believes sending them to space will somehow turn them into Hulk-like super dogs. Thankfully, with all the courage could muster, he managed to save Eustace and Muriel from the evil vet, and the vet was launched into space. Unfortunately, Courage wasn't able to save his parents in the past, but managed to escape the evil vet, which is what I believed his parents hoped for, and wanted even if they themselves weren't able to escape, which he felt a major guilt over for years to come, which is why he's such a cowardly dog, quote-unquote. And this is how Muriel found Courage, and how the cute little puppy got his name! And yes, the vet gets his taste of his own meds. Pun intended, by the way. Nightmare Moon from My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. When I first got into the My Little Pony fandom back in the day in my freshman year, I think I only watched episodes in season 2 and 3 before watching the actual premiere. Needless to say, a villain like Nightmare Moon didn't disappoint. It became extremely popular among all MLP fans, young and old. Turning a princess into a monster creating eternal night, being banished to the moon for over 1,000 years, returning to seek revenge, and plenty more that I could list off. Nightmare Moon is one of the greatest villains in MLP. I was going to give the spot to either Chrysalis, Sombra, or even Tierek, or one of the other villains. Not counting Discord, by the way, he was just misunderstood in my opinion. But Nightmare Moon took the cake for me. As for Chrysalis, even though she got more screen time, she kind of lost her touch as a villain, and ended up becoming a power-hungry ex-ruler wanting her crown back because Thorax is new ruling or whatever. I lost track of things after season 4. Tierek didn't really impress me much, even though he was, and still most likely is able to absorb pony powers of all types of ponies. Sombra, well, first he didn't get enough screen time and became a very intimidating villain at most, even after his defeat. But when he was reincarnated, he just became a less scary dictator. If only the writers stuck with the scary character he could have been in season 8 or 9, and not this darker edgelord MLP version of Prince John from Disney's Robin Hood. Even though we don't see too much of Nightmare Moon in MLP, with the exception of seasons 4 and 5 episodes, and season 7 and 9 episodes, she made herself out to be a pretty decent villain to all MLP villains to come, even when season 5 kinda got thrown for a loop, I guess. I don't know. No Face from Spirited Away. Studio Ghibli films are about as popular as Disney films. Basically, the best way I can describe it is they're kind of like Japan's versions of Walt Disney movies, in a way. My Neighbor Totoro, Ponyo, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and various other Ghibli films touch the heart and soul of many and all others. Unfortunately for those, I never seen Howl's Moving Castle or Princess Mononoke, plus I'm just not interested in those two movies. Sorry. So the next best thing I could choose was Spirited Away, because the monster and the spirit characters were more well fitted for this list, specifically the character No Face. But the character is another popular one, and what I think is a misunderstood monster of sorts. When Chihiro enters the bathhouse with Haku, trying to cross the bridge, No Face sits on the sidelines, just watching her, and does the same when Chihiro crosses the bridge so Haku can take her to visit her parents, who have turned into pigs via eating cursed spirit food. Then when Chihiro sees him outside in the rain, she lets him in and actually helps her get a bath token later on. Throughout the film, he tries to shower her with gifts and tokens and things like that, to which she politely refuses because girl don't want no money. But thankfully, the excessive bath tokens came in handy with that filthy river spirit. Yay! No Face is so sweet. Agudira's already said this in her Ghibli Theories video, link in the description below by the way if you want to watch that, but that's not important. Even though No Face shows nothing but kindness towards Chihiro, he ends up eating people! But that's because he is crazy when he enters the bathhouse, and the main reason why he wants Chihiro is because he's so lonely, and Chihiro was the only one who showed him kindness. It's actually kind of sad. Near the end of the film, he comes with Chihiro to Swamp Bottom to take back a gold seal to Yubaba's twin sister, Zeniba, and No Face stays with her. This sweet boy is no longer lonely. Aww. Sure, he went a little cray-cray in the bathhouse, but he just wanted a friend from the looks of it. Look at him, he's such a sweetie. Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. What? Pyramid Head isn't at the top 10 or top 5? How dare you! That aside, the Silent Hill franchise is filled with nopes galore. Haunted hospitals? Nope. Life-scarring enemies? Nope. Pyramid Head? Fuck nope! Pyramid Head is just by far one of, if not the creepiest and most unsettling enemies in Silent Hill. Pyramid Head is just by far one of, if not the creepiest and most unsettling enemy in Silent Hill. While I haven't played any of the games, Pyramid Head is one even I'm familiar with, and I'm more of a Pokemon anime fan. That aside, after watching Wumbu's video on creepy gaming monsters, I started to see something very accurate, shall we say? Pyramid Head happens to be the one and only male monster in Silent Hill, among all female monsters. And before you comment, I shall confirm your theories about me. Yes! I've been an SJW Tumblr misogynist special snowflake this whole time! Whatever. In all seriousness, Pyramid Head is the main protagonist's manifestations of his repressed memories and personality he tries to hide. And Pyramid Head can be heard and seen assaulting the female monsters, if I'm correct in saying so. Most of the time sexually. And no, I'm not showing that crap! Yes, there's a warning in this video, but I'm not that sick in the head. And once he comes to terms with his past, the Pyramid Head monsters just die. Yeah, they just die. This could symbolize that he faced himself and told himself to not give in to Pyramid Head urges, and to just tell him no and stop. Yeah, I think I got confused here. Moving on. Simone Alina from Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is one of my favorite Scooby-Doo movies of all time. Though I think what ended up putting a major twist on Scooby-Doo was the message that the monsters are real. They weren't kidding. From zombies trying to warn the Mystery Gang about their upcoming fate to werecats, which I didn't even know existed. Everything in the movie was pure epicness. Backtracking to the werecats. Near the beginning of the movie, Lena and Simone seem like your average kind-hearted folk, showing famous Louisiana Southern hospitality towards the Scooby Gang. But later down the line, they're revealed to be the culprits of the island disappearances, and are also soul drainers, which that, dear children, is considered murder, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies. That being said, when they're revealed to be the true villains, their starting transformation is pretty dang scary. Still a human, but also now cats. Cat humans, I guess. Once Simone tells her and Lena's backstory about how they were in a group of settlers looking for the cat god to a harvest, and the peace was disturbed by Morgan Moonscar, whom, alongside with his other men, killed the other settlers, and Simone and Lena were lucky enough to escape. Filled with rage, they uttered a curse on the pirates, turning them into werecats, and basically killed the pirates for killing the settlers. Unfortunately for them, when they invoked the cat god's power, cursed them too, leaving them to drain life forces from others for the next 200 years. See, kids? This is what happens when you anger certain types of deities. Near the end of the film, when they, alongside Jock, wanting immortality, so he's also a werecat too, turned to dust. Kind of like the monsters in Undertale. So their 9 lives were up at the point because they failed to drain the life force from the Scooby Gang. Scooby-Doo and Mystery Inc. are immortal! I don't need no god power! Zero from The Lion King 2. Speaking of crazy cat ladies, Zero from The Lion King 2 is probably one of the most vengeful on this list, though I could be wrong on that. I found her character design to be pretty cool, and she was even voiced by the late Susan Plachette, who also shared her voices with Yubaba and Daniba in the previous entry, Spirited Away. Basically, the gist of Zero's character as a whole is she sought for vengeance when Scar was murdered by the hyenas, not Simba, though she blames him for Scar's death, and was banished from the Outlands alongside her cubs, for unknown reasons other than having the same beliefs as Scar, quite possibly. I mean, I don't blame Simba there, so, yeah. Going off topic here, there are theories out there speculating that Patani is Nala and Scar's daughter, super messed up by the way, so Zero adopted her, and Kovo is indeed Zero's son, but is not related to Scar, so his father is pretty much unknown. And Nuka is somehow related to either Nala, Scar, or Zero, but I'm getting off topic. After the banishment, she trains Kovu to use him to possibly kill Simba one day and return to the Pride Lands, going back to the way Scar had it when he was king, which was terrible, by the way. Scar didn't know how to run a kingdom. He was basically a tyrant. Yeah. After so many years of training, Kovu eventually falls in love with Kiara, Simba's daughter, and eventually earns Simba's trust for a short period of time. Zero basically disowns Kovu for not following through with the plan of the planned assault on Simba, and for having a part in Nuka's demise. When the war between Pridelanders and Outlanders is stopped by Kovu and Kiara, everyone but Zero has a change of heart. Unfortunately, with darkness still in her heart, Zero ends up falling off a cliff and into a river and drowns, which wouldn't be the first time a Disney villain had a demise such as this in a similar fashion, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. Taboo from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I love the Super Smash Bros. Series. SSBB is one of my all-time favorites, by the way. Once I got near the final level of the game, I originally thought Master Hand would be the final boss monster I'd face. But oh no! A twist! Taboo is a weird one. And probably one of, if not the hardest final bosses I faced in any video game known to gamers. In the Nintendo series, by the way. Yeah, I'm a noob, shut up. First of all, he turns every character you played into statues, then merges all the stages you've played throughout the game together, creates shadow versions of the characters, and is pretty much damn near unstoppable at this point. And trust me, I think it almost took me 2 hours to beat this guy. At first, I thought he was some kind of video game angel. Then I realized he was the final boss. Yeah, he was a hard boss even for me to beat. Trust me, would not fight him again even for $1 million. Giratina from Pokemon. I tried super hard not to add any Pokemon related characters, seeing as I may or may not have already talked about them in a previous video, but Giratina had slipped its way onto the list, and is the only exception to this rule, mainly because of its backstory. While characters like Mewtwo and any member from Team Rocket, Giovanni included, Team Rocket became a little more comedic until maybe the black and white anime, then went back to comedy around X and Y, I guess. And Mewtwo was just a poor innocent soul of a horrible experiment gone wrong, and just needs a hug from all the BS he was put through. Giratina is pretty much one of the darkest forces in the Pokemon series in my opinion. Pulling my Christian background coming out, but Giratina's backstory is basically this. It ended up doing something so bad that Arceus had to banish it to the very confusing and very messed up Distortion World. Kinda rings a bell, don't it? Arceus banished Giratina to the Distortion World for a bad thing. God banished Lucifer, or Satan, I don't remember which it was, to hell. Arceus is God, Giratina is Satan. The Distortion World is hell. And also, what did Giratina do to get banished? What's your game with this creature of hell, Pokemon? Tell us! Flowey and Kara from Undertale. Seeing as I've already talked about Flowey and his mega creepy omega form in the last video I did about video game monsters, I couldn't help but putting him again on this list. I mean, come on, you can't blame me, can ya? Flowey, upon the intro, seems pretty nice and friendly. That is until you get to the battle sequence, and you either run into his attacks or dodge it. He tries to kill you either way. Thankfully, Toriel manages to save you. Then he ends up breaking the fourth wall and stalks you throughout the game. And when you get to his final battle in the neutral run, I probably shouldn't have to be a broken record at this point. His Omega form is creepy as fuck! Kara is no exception to this rule either. If you decide to take the genocide run, you end up killing all of the characters. And the battles just get harder and harder as you go. Heck, if you decide to go through the genocide run and beat Sans, it's even sadder! Unfortunately, you have no power to show mercy or spare Asgore or Flowey. Even when Flowey shows his true form to be Asriel, he tries to stop you no matter what, but is unable and ends up getting killed. And when you end up beating the demon that possessed you, Kara is... well, let's just play the clip. And now you suddenly have bedwetting syndrome because of Kara. Thanks, Toby Fox. Thanks for the nightmare fuel. Scar from The Lion King. I know I'm going to hell for not putting Scar higher on this list. The Lion King is one of Disney's greatest magnum opus in the movie industry, and Scar is one of the top tier villains of villainy. Originally part of the Lion Guard and was bitten by a snake, and roared the snake and lion away, was called Scar by Mufasa for the scar on his face, and used the roar for evil, which he ended up losing. Wanted to be king, killed Mufasa, and thought Simba was dead afterwards, became a dictator throughout the Pride Lands, and met his demise via betraying the hyenas, and getting killed, and possibly eaten by them? Because hyenas could do that. The more you don't want to know. I'm kinda gonna ignore the fact that Hercules showed Scar's pelt as a hidden Easter egg in the movie. I think what made Scar a pretty good villain was not only for what I said earlier, but because of his song Be Prepared, and even though the song was botched in the 2019 live-action remake, I still thought it was good. Both the original and remake of the song showed off the darkness and true potential of any Disney villain song could ever muster. Even though he isn't higher on this list, he did make it into the top 10/top 5 for various reasons. Armagoma from Twilight Princess. On Nintendo, childhood fun and wonderful wait, didn't I already make this speech in a previous video? Oh well. But let's be honest here. When Nintendo caught us off guard with things like the Lavender Town and Pokemon, Zero 2.0 for Kirby and the Crystal Shards, Gygas from Earthbound, and the entirety of Majora's Mask from Legend of Zelda, you know you're gonna get a lot of what the fuck moments for Nintendo as a whole. And since I didn't play Twilight Princess or get into the Zelda series as a whole until high school and adulthood, I found this series to be one of the darkest in Nintendo's gaming gallery. Next to Majora's Mask, of course. I know a lot of you expected me to pick something like Dead Hand, Redeads, or just Majora's Mask as a whole, but I picked something from Twilight Princess. And I had said before that Majora's Mask is one of the darkest games in the series. I still stand by that opinion because of the fact that the super creepy Link statue was inspired to make the Ben John creepypasta. But now the spot is gladly taken by Twilight Princess. Because spiders! A huge ass spider! I'm sorry I didn't put someone like Zant here on this list. Maybe in a future video, getting off topic. Armagoma is the remake of the original Goma from Ocarina of Time, and isn't talked about much in my opinion. If any of you know me at all, you should know that I have a massive fear of spiders. And you probably won't find me in places like Australia. Sorry Australia, you're just too full of nopes. Armagoma is more realistic, which isn't the best thing for huge arachnophobes like me. Because this bitch is basically a fucking tarantula. And if that wasn't enough, it has a massive eye on its freaking back. Oh, that doesn't turn your stomach when it's being punched by an iron fist. It crawls back to the ceiling, and right in front of your eyes, it lays eggs like a real spider. I think I'm gonna be sick. Shouldn't have eaten or drank that gamer fuel food earlier before this. Oh, and the eye's a freaking spider itself! Okay, I'm done, moving on. All I gotta say is, what the fuck, Nintendo? You know, Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess are both dark in their own ways. That aside, I'll make a future video on all that. Moving on before I lose my train of thought and start vomiting. Mother Gothel from Tangled. Tangled is one of my favorite Disney movies because of the character Rapunzel, and it shows what kind of relationship she and Gothel have, which kind of reminds me of me and my own mother. And while Barbie came first for the Rapunzel story, and I like that version as well, I still think Tangled did this one pretty dang well too. Gothel's just an overall evil, selfish woman. I'm just gonna keep this short. Gothel used a flower with the power to heal the sick and the wounded, to keep her age and beauty. Kidnapped Rapunzel for the same purpose, because her hair got the power from the queen taking the flower as medicine, and is an overall narcissistic woman, constantly putting down Rapunzel and locking her away from the real world for her own purposes. It's basically creating a Stockholm Syndrome relationship with her, when she yells at Rapunzel because the only thing she wants is to see the lanterns and leave the tower for once, and puts Rapunzel in guilt, saying, "Now I'm the bad guy," which she most definitely is. She basically manipulates poor Rapunzel so she can keep her hair for her own greed and keep her to herself. And she even attempts to kill Flynn when he tries to rescue Rapunzel from her abusive relationship with Gothel. Kidnapping, selfishness, and narcissism are all horrible traits of a mother, quote unquote, that shouldn't even be one in the first place. Mine as a big example. Moving on. White Diamond from Steven Universe. Yes, we'll talk about this character again. At first, she was an utter mystery aside from yellow, blue, and pink. She was the one the Crooniverse was basically waiting for. Theories have been speculated that Pink's issues were because of the constant abuse and torture White put her through, and I can see why. The relationship is almost similar with what Rapunzel and Gothel had if you think about it, and look at it closely. Because of this, Pink had all these issues that weren't resolved because of the possible abuse White put her through. which could be one of the many reasons why she turned into rose quartz and faked her shattering. When we finally meet White, she barely listens to Steven. When we finally meet White, she barely even listens to Steven, doesn't show up for a gem ball. White Diamond from Steven Universe. Yes, we'll talk about this character again. At first, she was an utter mystery aside from yellow, blue, and pink. She was the one the Croonerverse was basically waiting for. Theories have been speculated that Pink's issues were because of the constant abuse and torture White put her through. And I can see why. The relationship is almost similar with what Rapunzel and Gothel had if you think about it and look at it closely. Because of this, Pink had all these issues that weren't resolved because of the possible abuse White put her through, which could be one of the many reasons why she turned into rose quartz and faked her shattering. When we finally meet White, she barely listens to Steven, doesn't show up for a gem ball, and even went as far as to turn the crystal gems into mindless zombie puppets and do freaking open gem surgery on Steven! Begone! Thought! But what villain monster topped over White Diamond and her fucked up creepy ass ways? Well, let's find out. Oh boy, I'm gonna need a nap after this one. The Other Mother from Coraline. Truth be told, I watched the movie of Coraline long before reading the book. I'm going with the movie version of The Other Mother here. When we first meet the Other Mother, aside from her button eyes, she seems nice and is what Coraline wants her real mother to be instead of what her real mother seems like in the real world. She showers Coraline with gifts, treats, and so much more. That is until the climax of the film, where she's given buttons if she wants to stay in the other world. She tries to refuse and return home, but the Other Mother refuses her to. When Coraline talks back to her to be free, she shows her true form as a tall, stick figure-ish woman. A little bit of trivia here. She's called the Bell Dam by the ghost children in the other world that were left to rot by the Other Mother herself. Then she agrees to set Coraline and her parents free. She kidnapped her parents, by the way, if she wins a game of finding the eyes of the ghost children and her parents. But if she loses, hello button eyes. Near the end of the film, she becomes a skeleton, grasshopper, spider thing. When Coraline tricks her, the Other Mother loses her button eyes when the cat scratches them out, literally speaking. She tries to attack Coraline after the Otherworld living room turns into a spider web, then loses her hand and tries to take the key to the Otherworld via using her hand and nearly chokes out Coraline! This woman doesn't give up, does she? And that is why the Other Mother is number 1 on this list. To end this video off, before you ask, yes, I do love, hate, and have a fear of some of these villains and monsters on this list. And these are all based on my opinions on them. So comment your opinion on a monster or villain in the comments, and comment a monster or villain you thought should have been on this list. Or heck, even comment your favorite monster villain in the comments below. That being said, cue the outro, RP is out, peace, time to take a nap. I'm gonna have nightmares for months now after this list.